Okay, so some backstory. So this is round 5 of the Chicago Open. I'm gonna look at the camera. I was paired with someone I knew, because it's not a national tournament unless you play someone from like your hometown who you have like 40 games against. I was paired with National Master Griffin McConnell. He's been on this channel before in games many times. And I kind of like metagamed myself too hard here because I had experience playing him. I knew what he played. I knew he was a Caro-Kann player. And okay, like the move order that we had settled on for this King's Indian attack picked by ChatGPT was to start with e4 and then like against c5, e6, etc. You play knight f3, then d3 was the move order. But against c6, I forgot like exactly. I didn't really look at this at all. d3, d5, knight d2 is what I was going to play. But then when I sat down at the board, I sat there for a few minutes and I was like, no, I'm gonna be really smart. I'm gonna start with d3. Forgetting completely that the reason that we didn't start with d3 in the first place and it was not a consideration as move 1 was that they go d5 and now it's like, now what? It's really hard to get e4 in, and then they might end up playing d5 or d4 and c5. And then I just felt like an idiot, but I had to move on. Knight f3. I'm just gonna put my pieces like this and hope for the best with my one idea, which was like the h3 idea. All right, knight f6, knight d2, c5. The vlogs so far are bangers, yes. So I go e4. I don't know, like I could go g3. I'm not sure if there was a reason. I've waited way too long to look at these games, so I don't remember like everything I was thinking anymore. But I go e4, knight c6. I haven't even started writing down time yet, so. After the move g3, I had 75 minutes. I started with 80. So I think that the move I thought the most on, honestly, was move 1. And then maybe after that, I thought a little bit. But now my opponent goes for d4. So this is not a structure that I looked at in my hour of prep for this tournament when I picked a new opening. The only structure I really focused on was the e6, d5, like French structure, where you play e5 and you kind of push the knight away, break the board in half, and attack with like h3 or h4, knight h2, knight g4, etc., etc. Here, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just playing chess at this point. It's like chess 960, essentially. It's just a position I've never seen. I mean, it's similar to positions I've seen, but... Alright, so e5, castles, bishop d6, a4. The point is to put the knight on c4 without being harassed. h6, knight c4, and bishop c7. So, what's the biggest problem here for me now? How do I continue? I've developed my minor pieces, aside from the bishop on c1. I've already castled. The center is semi-clarified. For the new people, my whole system is I just use Jacob Agard's like 3 questions for almost any position where I don't know what I'm doing. So, what is my worst place piece? What are the weaknesses? What is my opponent's idea? The bishop on c1 could be developed right now where it is, potentially. Like, maybe just, like, place it on d2 very gently. Oh, I showed this game to Miro, and he introduced an idea to me, a King's Indian attack / King's Indian defense idea that I wasn't aware of, which is pretty cool. So, I can tell you what Miro would play here. That's what I have to offer you. I have almost nothing to offer you about what I was thinking. I didn't play this game well. I'm embarrassed of this game. I kind of thought c5 could be a target. Someone says knight h4. Yeah, knight h4 I think is probably reasonable at some point. Probably not h4 anymore. The feeling of losing in chess is worse than the joy of winning. Well, that's kind of what we were talking about with Anushka, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be like a big deal either way. So what would the chat play here? Because I could play b3 and try to put the bishop on a3 and like attack the c-pawn, but then this is permanently weakened. My dark squares are kind of bad. And what was the point? I thought for 10 minutes on this move, which is to show that I was probably a little in my head. So I played b3, which I didn't even like when I played it. It's not a terrible, it's fine. It's like, it doesn't change the evaluation at all. But it's just long term, I just hate it. It goes against my philosophy for the tournament, which is no unnecessary weaknesses or complications. But Miro suggested c3 here. Not really because of what it's attacking in the center at all. No. The real point, actually, is to put the queen on b3, which apparently is a very common idea in the King's Indian, which I should know, but I, didn't. But you're still looking at this b pawn, making that harder to defend if you move the bishop away. He said like 12 other things, and I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Should have taken notes. But c3 is like super thematic apparently, and putting the queen on b. So like, for example, if black castles, queen b3. Oh, but then he takes and the d3 pawn is hanging. Maybe takey and queen b3? Is that how it goes? That doesn't really... I don't know. Ask Miro. He's not the resident GM anymore in St. Louis, but send him a little email or something. Alright, I went b3, which is not bad. I'm like being really hard on myself. It's like still exactly the same evaluation. Bishop e6. Now I go knight h4, which is the best move. And I'm trying to discourage castling on the king side here. He can still do it, but if he does, I'll play knight f5, and this knight will not be able to be kicked out by a pawn because he already played this weird h6 move, essentially just like making a weakness on the king side and then making f5 weak in turn, because if g6, then these are weak. Thank you for the 100 bits. I have only seen you at St. Louis Chess Club before. Well, I'm also here. So f4 could be played. I'm not like tied to that idea at all, because that would, maybe weaken my king as well. But he castles. Or no, he doesn't castle. He plays g5. He should have castled. He played g5. Yeah, this move was really weird. He's forcing my hand. I have to play knight f5. Going back would just be absolute nonsense, because I spent 2 moves doing nothing, and in that time my opponent will start an attack and probably go over here or something. So knight f5 is like forced after g5. Knight g7 is probably a threat. Castling kingside is not going to happen anymore. I don't think. That would be pretty insane. Taking on f5 would be pretty bad as well, because I feel like the semi-open file would be an issue just by itself. Maybe I'll do this. I don't know. Chat is so wholesome today. Cheesy Gazebo has a cute forehead today. That's a Daniel comment. Alright, so he doesn't take. He goes queen to d7. Threatening to take. Okay, and here's the question. Knight g7 surely, right? I showed this game to Daniel, and when I told him I played knight g7 here, he was like, oh, no. Like, he was being really condescending. He was like, sweetie, honey, like, it's by far the best move. I think what he didn't like is, okay, after king e7, the rooks are ready to come in, and, like, it's all in line with an attack happening, but... I've been attacked on the king side in every game this tournament so far. I'm pretty used to it. I don't know. Without the light squared bishop, this attack will be kind of difficult to follow through on. The dark squared bishop is like trapped behind pawns. My weaknesses are kind of, they're just basically on light squares on the king side, so the light squared bishop would be an important attacker. So he goes king e7, and I can take this here, and that's fine. He'd probably... I wasn't really sure if he'd take with the pawn or the queen. They're both interesting. Like, you could take with the pawn, move the rook over, then move the king over, then move the queen over, because if you move the king over to move the queen over, then the rook can't get over. Which is like a puzzle Miro showed me. Which maybe I'll even show the chat at some point. This was a King's Indian attack, kind of. Vaguely. But I threw this move in. I threw bishop a3 in to attack, like, tickle the pawn. And I have an idea in mind. I have like a very long-term stupid idea in mind that was just bad. But the idea was to force him to play b6, weakening the light square diagonal, and to eventually play f4. Even if I have to sacrifice a pawn, break open the center for my bishop, and his king is in the center, he doesn't really have a safe place to go anywhere. Like, if the center is open and the king side isn't safe, the queen side isn't safe, it feels like interesting. And again, like, we weren't playing this tournament to win money. We did win money, but we weren't playing to win money. I mean, I lost money altogether because it was pretty expensive, but I did technically win money. We were going to have fun, and this looks like fun to me. So here was the calculation. I thought, okay, so from this position, I saw bishop a3, b6 is like forced, okay? Knight e6. Not sure what he takes with. I was assuming he'd take with the queen, but I wasn't going to be surprised at all if he takes with the pawn. But after queen takes, f4, takes, e5. And if he takes with the... whatever he takes with, basically, I play rook e1 next. And, like, the queen can come to f3 to defend. If I just hide my king on h1, I just don't really see how he's going to get me. And then long term, I thought maybe I play like a5 and attack the pawn, and single this guy out and get play on the queen side or something. Now, this was not concrete analysis, mind you. I think I spent like 3 minutes total here. And then after b6, we just send it. But here's the problem. I still stand by that this is interesting. I'm not gonna say that it's good, but it looked fun to me. Okay, so here was this like half-assed idea. So knight takes e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes e5. This is kind of like where I stopped looking after takes queen f3 with tempo. If the rook comes back to g1, like, I'm happy because he's kicking my king to a safe square essentially. His pawns are pretty shitty in general. His king is kind of weak. But the biggest thing is that this bishop is so stupid, especially after I blockade the pawn. And I thought that would give me enough compensation. Like, I say compensation, like, technically I'm up in exchange, but, like, I'm giving up 2 bishops and he has 2 pawns. But, like, the pawns are these pawns. I don't know. What I failed to really consider is how strong this knight's going to end up being. Like, of course, if it gets here, it's really strong. But I overlooked some things. So I do go ahead and take this, which I normally would never do, but I think that I kind of have to do it here. So takes, queen f3. Rook g8, king h1, knight d5. We all know where this is going. Yeah, I like the different colored arrows on lead chess. It's very nice. So what the hell do I do now, right? Because I do agree that this is a really shitty piece and these are shitty pawns, and so technically I'm up material, but this knight is like such a monster. It seems pretty dangerous. So let's reassess, reevaluate after all these changes have happened. What are the weaknesses? Okay, these pawns are like, you know, long-term, like, kind of weak. I would say the whole 7th rank can be a weakness, and then if that's a weakness, then, like, this whole pawn chain could be, like, flimsy. Of course, this is, like, a monstrous weakness for me. Let's make that green or something. This is weak. My king in general, I guess, is weak. His king it could be weak as well. This is my big idea to start counterplay. A5 and maybe also b4. What's my worst piece? That's a complicated question, actually. What is my worst piece? None of them are great. Just rook g1, trade the rooks, and b4. I don't know. That's probably okay as well. Bishop c1, then bishop d2. You want to correct this mistake I made like 12 moves ago. That's valid. I do think that this is a time-sensitive position, because essentially whoever gets active first is going to be okay. And the other person... If he gets active first, I'm gonna die. If I get active first, I'm not gonna die. So, like, obviously I'm on the worst side of things. It's interesting because this rook looks like it's inactive, but if you look at it from this perspective, these pieces are kind of placed correctly. Because the bishop is lined up with the king, and it's helping contribute to breaks. I think that this rook is actually the worst piece. The rook on f1, it's not really doing anything. And in fact, it's about to get tempoed to knight e3. So the best move here is actually just to be very solid. Play rook f2 as a sort of prophylaxis against this incoming threat, so that this is already defended. And this would have been the solid, better choice. I didn't do that. I went ahead with like going with counterplay right away, which is also fine. But I do like this rook f2 move even more, and I kind of wish that I had played it. Just wait to see what he does. But a5 is fine. I did feel like I needed to start doing some counterplay. So I don't know. I don't have like a strong opinion. Okay, so knight e3, rook f2. And it's like, oh, maybe it just transposed. Who cares? No one cares. How much time do we have? Let's do a time check. So I have 26 minutes left. My opponent has 18. The time control was 40 moves in 80 minutes, 30-second delay. And then on move 40, you get another 30 minutes. So it's like a kind of a weird time control. It's way faster than it sounds. But like a time scramble is always a possibility here. So rook f2. And he plays this move. He plays rook g4, okay? I'll give you more backstory on this person. I have known this person since he was like probably like 6 or 7 years old, and I was like 10. And I used to be better than him, and I would beat him all the time. And it like wasn't even close. I was like 1600 and he was like 1000, probably at our biggest gap. Maybe I'm exaggerating. And he used to call me his rival, even though he had never beaten me. And he used to be like this cute little kid. And now, of course, you know, he's an NM and he's better than me. And I've lost to him a lot. The gap closed. And the way that I always lose to him is I'm usually doing very well. I've since moved away from the term outplaying someone since I've read Chess for Zebras. I'm now against the terms on chess understanding and outplaying. We'll get into that at some other point. But my perspective at the time was that I usually outplay him, and then in time pressure, like him and his brother, they both are sorry, the chat's ridiculous. They're very resourceful and also resilient, if that makes sense. Like, I just like lose at the last second to some weird idea. And this move, rook g4, confused the hell out of me, because I was like, what is the point of rook g4? What's gonna happen to me? And I knew that there was like some pattern that I was missing that I just like couldn't understand or hadn't seen, and I was like, what is he doing? Like, what is he doing? Is it like this, I guess? But it's like, it seems so slow and weird. Like, it seems really weird. But in the back of my mind, I was just like, I'm gonna lose because of this move. Anyways, I go b4, because like that's what I'm doing. I go c4. This is a fucking interesting position. Self-service, rook g4 is weird. I don't know how we ever die on h1. Write that on my tombstone. Hello, chess weeb. Okay, so I gotta get the pawns going. c5 is kind of automatic. King f6. And I had kind of I think a long think here. Because here's like, what's going on, right? Yeah, c4 is a good move, probably. So I think for like 8 minutes here, I take on b6, and it's like, what's going? I'm like, I don't know, I don't see it yet, but I just like I'm getting nervous. We both have 10 minutes now, and I play a move that I actually really liked. I played bishop f8. It's not really about this pawn. It's more like now I'm setting up the possibility of a mating net at some point is my idea. But also more importantly, like, oh, maybe the rook comes in, you know, maybe I target this pawn, etc., etc. Bishop f8 is sneaky. Yes. And I'm feeling good here. It all feels fine. And then he goes rook h4, and I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? What is he doing? I don't see it. I still don't see it at this point. And I don't get it. Okay, so here's, I think, the final, like, really, not final, one of the bigger questions of the game. Now that he's left the G file, do I take this opportunity to now bring a rook over to G1, which I feel lines up very nicely with my previous move? Or do I continue putting the rook here or here or here, like something like this, with my older plans? Probably rook a7. But do I go this way or do I go this way? That's my question to you, and why? What do you mean calculate rook h4? What is there to calculate? I still didn't understand, like, what the hell he was doing. My opponent is National Master Griffin McConnell. I think 2 C's, 2 N's, maybe 1 L, maybe 2 L's, who knows. Intuition says rook a7, no calculation needed. So rook g1 is the best move, and that is what I played. Any other move besides rook g1, I'm about -1. Like, I'm worse. Rook g1 is the only way, and it is to do with the king being kind of fucky-wucky. And again, we have very little time here, so, you know, the analysis isn't going to be great. This was also like 7,000 months ago. Knight g4. All right, what the hell is happening now? Where is the tactic that I'm going to miss at some point? Where is it? I still don't see it. I just put the other rook on the G file because, of course. H5. Okay, now what? This is the point where every move starts to be a blunder from both sides, because we're like under 5 minutes. But what I apparently should be doing is just playing rook f1, rook e1, rook f1, rook g1, just like not moving, I guess. And then like if he... this is like one of his like tactics. And then if I take, there's this. And I did see this tactic, like losing my queen. And I was, you know, expecting it, which is why I played the move queen to a8 with threats. But the problem is with this move is after bishop g7 check, if he plays king takes g7, queen h3, doesn't work. It's pinned. So that's like the miracle save. And if the king goes somewhere else, maybe I just get like plenty of pieces because I also get this and he's like losing. Yes, leaving the f3 square is a huge mistake. But I was like, I didn't see any of that. I didn't see bishop g7. I was just really stressed out and I was like, oh, this is the time that I lose. Now I'm finally seeing how I'm going to lose to rook g4. Because of course if the queen, he scares my queen off and he plays f3, like, you know, like there's too many guys pointed at my king. So I go queen a8 for the counterplay. He goes king g6 and I go rook e1. And we're not really thinking at this point. We're playing moves because we're playing on our delay. I'll go back in a second to show where all the ridiculous things were missing. But he goes queen f5, which is like pretty natural. Bishop e7. Rook h3. Queen g8 check. Bishop g7. Bishop f8. Yes, this is scary, but he has to go queen f6 first. And here is my final fatal error of the game. This position is around equal. However, I thought I was winning. We're on move 35. I have under a minute. I need to make 5 more moves to get to second time control. And I thought it was fucking brilliant. I saw this idea of rook e2, and if f3, I was gonna go here, and then I win, because the queen will be pinned, and I'm gonna take here and take his queen and all this shit. So I go here, and he goes f3, and I go rook e6. Missing, I just didn't see this. Like, I just get mated in 3 moves. On move 39, I got mated. So I don't know what sort of excuses to make for that. That was just like a wild oversight. I'll bring it back to my favorite like reference to use. It's like that episode of Frasier where neither of them can ride a bike, or at least Frasier can't. God damn it. Let me finish my Frasier metaphor. Hello. Now I'm over here. Okay, so it's like that episode of Frasier where he doesn't know how to ride a bike because anytime he gets on the bike, he's like on a path that's clear, but then he like sees a pole off in the distance, and then he just like starts steering towards the pole, and no matter how much like free range there is and there's nothing else he can run into, he's thinking about running into that pole, so he runs into the pole. That was me with this Rook G4 thing. I was like, what the fuck is Rook G4? And then I just like eventually just killed myself. Almost for no reason. Okay, but let's go back. How do I not lose here? It's white to play and not lose. I skipped over quite a few blunders as well, which maybe we'll go back and examine. Because like, what exactly is black's threat? So far, it's been Rook G1 every time you ask. Okay, yeah, Rook G1, and then if F3, I can take. This is an idea I briefly looked at, but I was like, oh, but my idea is so good. Like, I didn't see Rook H2. I wonder if it's like, what if like if Rook H2 doesn't exist, is this even good? Because he still has King G5. That's like it. Even if I don't miss Rook H2, this was stupid. So that's that. The easy draw here, the camera's not there anymore, it's here now, is Bishop E7, Bishop F8. That's the easy draw. Which I fucking wish I saw, but I did not. And then there's other things that are like more complicated, but I'm not gonna look at them because I don't want to, and I have better games to look at. What was, yeah, so instead of King G6, he doesn't have to do that. He can just, like, continue with Rook H3 and try to play F3. And honestly, like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do about that. Because F3 is, like, what exactly was my threat? Now what? It's kind of a transposition. Except he plays this Queen F5 move. Again, he doesn't have to do that. Like, Rook H3, F3, this is the way. But neither of us had time, so. Well, that was a pretty silly finish. This game was, this was also kind of humiliating because we did a post-mortem, and I was like, I've turned into that guy, and I just like think I'm winning every game I play, which is good. It's making my results better. It's better than thinking you're losing, no matter what. But I was so embarrassed because I like kept telling him like, no, I think my position's good here. And like arguing with him, and he's like, I don't know, and he was so nice about it, and he was right about like I think almost everything. And then I go and I check the computer and I'm like, oh, I'm just like dumb. But yeah, delusional is good. Yeah, you have to believe in yourself because no one else will. It's true. So that's that game. That was my least favorite game of the whole tournament, to be honest. I just like I felt zero passion about any idea I had in this game, except for the one that lost me the game. Okay, it's time to move on to the fun games.